This anime is reinventing an entire dead genre, and it's all because they did the unthinkable and made women important. Wait a second, actually scratch that, because not only did they make women important in this universe, but they literally run all the schools, government, the police, and everything else with any status. And this all happened because their peaches changed everything. Wait, not those peaches, I mean this one. It's a special fruit that was found in 2020 when gateways to an underworld-esque place called Mato started opening up all around Tokyo. If a woman eats one of these fruits, it gives them a unique power based off of one of their inner desires. It can range from I just want to get big to I'm literally God. So it's really easy to see where this spirals into a matriarchy where every man might as well just be a spare wallet dropped onto the ground.
All around me are familiar faces.
However, on the other side of that coin is Yuki Wakakura, a normal guy that's just trying to find any way to not be a wallet and actually be useful in a society where it seems impossible. That is, until his dreams are cut short by a portal spontaneously opening on top of him, stranding him in Mato to be eaten alive. Just kidding, because one of the Anti-Demon Corps members actually noticed the portal open, so she's about to go hog wild and destroy everyone. Until she also gets herself in a really tough spot, with both of their only hopes of living being a gambit that totally relies on Yuki, becoming her slave, that is. And listen, admittedly, it sounds overly kinky, but we're in a harem series after all. What did you actually expect? Yet, jokes aside, there's actually a brilliance in here too. See, the way her power works is, she can under certain circumstances make beings submit, allowing them to fight at her whim in a stronger than normal state, with the only trade-off being that she has to grant the slave a reward upon the transformation's end. And my god, is the implementation of that power one of the best choices this anime makes, both for the characters and my tiny male brain, but also because using that, it even further separates itself from the baseline of the genre. In almost every other harem series, the girls are just extensions of our main character, rather than actual functional beings, so unless he is explicitly involved with them at any certain time, they just don't exist. They don't think, they don't have goals, nothing, which I guess could be fine if you want the series to be nothing but an objectifying hentai, with a fan base of less than normal guys. But if you try to do anything actually interesting with that base, it quickly crumbles to nothing. For example, the most notable place that this is an issue is in Issei from High School DxD. Almost every fight throughout the series is composed of the girls that he's collected, watching him to do all the quote-unquote manly man work, with his only goal being to touch, well, you get the point. Some of these sideline characters are even hailed as the strongest and most powerful women in the entire world, with most of them being either angelic or demonic beings that have entire power arsenals capable of destruction surpassing a real-life World War III. Yet, despite that, all they do is sit around watching some loser who just happened to get lucky at birth scream boost, 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 boost. However, Chain Soldier physically can't have this problem, since Yuki Wakakura isn't actually able to do anything on his own, while the girls still do things without him all the time. I mean, to really drive this point home, the author even made the literal only character that could actually kill the demons without the use of a power the same girl that actually has the slave power. Because of that choice, even the most otherwise mundane characters end up getting an immense amount of value over the course of the series, since all their interactions are completely complex and different, instead of their coconuts being their only purpose. Extremely early on, the one girl that saves Yuki reveals that she's the captain of part of the Anti-Demon Corps, and then introduces him to the other girls that he's gonna end up taking care of for the rest of the series. But as he slowly integrates with them, one specific girl stands out. She's an absolute hard-ass that demands he not even speak unless spoken to. She views him as a beast and just generally doesn't even like the idea of him being around. Yet with each fight progressing the story, we start to see bits of that personality deconstructed like a mask peeling off, to realize she's actually just acting that way because she's overcompensating for her lackluster family life. Her sister is one of the most talented rookies in the entire corps, with an ability that doesn't even seem fair, and in comparison, she's just average. Her ability doesn't suck, but it also isn't amazing. And from that, it feels like the gap between her and her family is only widening with each chapter. This is a struggle that slowly builds on itself, becoming a bigger and bigger beast, rapidly tearing her apart until she's forced to face it in an event that I don't want to spoil. But my point is, she's treated like a real person, with real life struggles that any of us can relate to. Struggles beyond just trying to find out what bra size actually fits. And that trait isn't just limited to her. Every character in the series gets moments of rise and moments of despair. Scenes to show their true colors and what makes them angry, what drives them to fight, what made them join the corps in the first place, and it's something that's genuinely unexpected from an ecchi series of all things. Actually, the ecchi is even almost always tied to actual aspects of a character. Because remember the reward caveat to the slave power I mentioned earlier? Well, in the beginning of the series, it's theorized that whatever she's forced to do is always based off of the desire of the slave. And while for a bit that does seem to be true, with the first few of those just being pure degeneracy, it slowly starts to trickle in a little bit of the girls' personalities. I mean, actual personalities. They start to seep into those moments, creating an even bigger hit than you'd otherwise get. You could probably even make an argument that you're kind of required to watch the uncensored version, since the rewards are so intertwined with the character's desires and feelings that it feels almost necessary. I mean, I probably wouldn't agree with that, depending on how hard it's actually censored, but it's so relevant that the argument is there. However, before you pull your pants back up, I need to address those rewards again, because they're doing one other thing that changes the game for ecchi anime. In almost every other series in the genre, it tries its hardest to fill every little blank space with as much down badness as they can possibly fit. Using DxD as an example again, every fight in one way or another has something ecchi involved, even if it's just the actual motivation for the battle. And I swear I love women, but over the course of the series, that constant push for at all times our eyes to be glued onto the milk cartons really starts to bog down the actual action, creating sloppy, uninteresting fights that aren't even about the actual combat as much as they're about melons. Chain Soldier, on the other hand, found an extremely clever workaround that allows for clean, interesting action that can still at times provide you degenerates goon material without getting in the way. And that solution is scaling how intense the rewards are off of how well Yuki performs during the battle. Because not only does that create a clear divide between the ecchi and the action, but it also creates another reason to pay attention during each clash, making them feel homogenous yet also separate. And I'm not gonna lie, watching some of the more intense battles while also in the back of your mind knowing that the reward is about to be absolutely insane kind of feels like edging.
Stop edging in my class.
But that's not to insult the actual fights themselves, because the creator of the series is fucking Takahiro, the same guy who made Akami ga Kill, which firstly explains why he's so good at writing interesting dominant women, but second, it also shows that he's not gonna pull any punches throughout the runtime of the show. Because of that, every fight has a scary sense that nearly anything could happen at any moment. And goddamn, because stuff does happen. Unpredictable event after unpredictable event seemingly all pile on top of each other to create a chaotic yet seamlessly coherent narrative that honestly rivals most other current mainstream shonen, and even surpasses some of the worst ones. Jujutsu Kaisen. Sorry, I don't know what just came over me. But seriously, every clash is drawn out elegantly by the artist Takamura Yohei, who's someone with very little clear work experience, which almost leads me to believe that he's a former doujin artist or something, mostly because of the obvious other things that he's really good at drawing, but also because he far exceeds the reputation of all of his other accredited creations, which is obvious when he's making beautiful scenes that convey extremely strong emotion in only a few short little shots. But those aren't the only two things that Chain Soldier does better than that weird illness I just had, because even the cast is extremely diverse. As an example, there's a girl who can code her future movements using a keypad on her skin, which allows her to plan in advance, causing her to be an extremely calculated and deadly threat, until you learn her idiosyncrasies and go on the offensive. Then there's also a girl who can literally stop time, but only if she strikes a pose. Wait, where have I heard this before? Then there's, mommy. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I literally can't, I can't control myself. Because my wife, Tenka Izumo, is the best character in the entire series. Fuck it, she's the best character ever made. Not only is she the most caring, loving lady you'll ever meet in your entire life, but she can also literally control pretty much all of space. I'm not joking, at one point she even uses it to open what's pretty much a black hole on one of the strongest enemies we had even seen to that point. And it doesn't make any sense, but it's fucking sick, so I just don't care. And also, if you can keep a secret, secret, she even uses that power to teleport herself into my room at night, but really, don't tell my girlfriend Hani about that one. I could spend all day talking about what I love about each of these girls and what makes them unique, but for the sake of time, just know that if one of those girls I talked about wasn't your cup of tea, you're still bound to find someone that's for you, since there's 7 or more relevant characters at any given time, which I might add is shockingly high, especially if you compare it to other similar series like Naruto or My Hero Academia, both of which are often praised for having huge dynamic cast. Yet each series feels almost dwarfed in comparison, with realistically no more than 5 ever being relevant at one time, which is another reason that Chain Soldier is just built different. It almost always feels like you're watching some sort of Avengers Endgame type conflict unfold, because literally everyone is here, with even some of the characters who might be considered less important to the big picture overall getting actual time to show off their ingenuity with their abilities. But you might argue that including those smaller characters is actually a bad thing, since it could slow down the pacing. But in reality, it almost never does. Each fight only adds to the wider narrative, and it feels like building blocks constantly stacking up to form the character moments yet to come. But one bad thing that praise might actually lend to is the thought that the villains can't really truly live up to the hype. Yet, they somehow actually do, because without spoiling anything, they're not really what they seem. And it ends up being a huge mystery that plagues the back of your mind as you try to figure out what's even coming next. And I could keep praising each and every little piece of this puzzle, but at this point, I feel like if I went any deeper, I'd just be robbing you of this greatness. So unfull screen the video, scroll down, subscribe, and go watch Chain Soldier.